Welcome to the 19th episode of Wildlife Conversations. I'm your host, Jen Ritchie. My guest today is a photographer, conservationist, explorer, author, researcher, hiker, and a beautiful storyteller. You can find her work in places like BBC Wildlife Magazine, Arizona Wildlife Federation Magazine, Colorado Outdoors, plus her self-published books, The American Pika, Life with Mountain Goats, and Healing in the Southwest. Her work is beautiful, honest, and immersive, and showcases the fire and will she has for wild spaces. I have so much to learn from her. Please welcome my guest, Deirdre Denali Rosenberg. Welcome.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. We've been following each other for several years now. And when I
Mhm.
first started, I remember seeing your work and like, oh yes, I want to follow her, another woman in wildlife photography. I want to follow her. And then when you followed back, it's like, oh yay. In those early days, I was so excited you followed me back. And we've got people coming from Bozeman, Montana. You can say hello in the chat and say hi to Deirdre. Tell us where you're listening from. How fun. People from Virginia, Dan Cole is here, Monty Duncan. I can't see the other name. I'm sorry. Mary Engel is here. That's so nice. Minnesota, Nicole is here. Oh, that's so nice, everybody. I know it's hard on an afternoon. And if you're listening to this later on a podcast, we are recording live today and we have people joining us. So they're talking to us in the chat. So that's what we're doing. So Deirdre, I'm just so glad you're here. And I have to say, I'm going to confess something. Last week we had on the podcast with Kelly Wasson Miller, we had a really good observation or question from one of our guests, and he was saying that he noticed that women see photography so differently. And I was like just flowing with it. Like, that's great. Yes, that's so true. But in a generalization. But then as the week went on, I started thinking, wait, do people think I don't know the technical? Like the total imposter syndrome like kicked in. And then I was researching like about you and like all that you've done, and then more imposters. I'm like, I'm not a biologist. I haven't been to these places. I don't know these animals. But then I'm like, if I said this stuff to Deirdre, she would be like, Jen, we have so many similarities. And I
Yes.
realized that it's like, that's what we're doing today. I'm like inviting you to my front porch, and we could probably talk for hours and hours about the things that we love and find so many similarities. So that calmed my anxiety a little bit.
No, imposter syndrome is really, really tricky.
Mhm.
Um, Dan is here. I see him in the chat. And so Dan is somebody that I actually mentored.
Oh,
And part of
fun.
what I went over with Dan during our mentorship was my own imposter syndrome
Mm,
that I was even mentoring him at all.
yeah.
Imposter syndrome is hard, and when I do mentoring, I'm not teaching technical stuff the way that you see it taught. And, I do things in a more what I like to believe is like a relatable kind of way. You don't have to like be a Google genius, like looking everything up to do things. And so, yeah, I do think women do things different. And I think that that means like better in a lot of
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. We can totally say that. They can, disagree with us in the comments, but we think that. I know. So it was like I I really felt like, well, there's so many things that even if you like, I feel like I do know the technical. I don't get into like the nitty. There's just like really deep depths you can go. But
totally.
I feel like, well, women do know the technical. We just express it differently, and
Mhm.
I think it's amazing. Yeah, and your work, you have put so much time and effort and grit, and like just the amount of work you have done is so impressive. And so I think I just have a just mad respect for that. And I always
Thank
have
you.
since I started following you, just always have. And that led me to think like there are similarities in the way we can give back as well. Like I think many people think, well, I have to give back in a big way.
Hmm.
But if
Hmm.
we each individually give back, how do you see that?
Man, so everyone really has a wealth of goodness to give, kind of dependent on who the individual is.
Mhm.
And I think everyone has a different story. Everybody has different things that they prioritize. And oftentimes those things are really similar in the end goal. You know,
Yeah.
everybody wants healthy wildlife here. Everybody wants healthy ecosystems, we would hope. And if people are here, they're probably very interested in photography.
Yeah.
And so things, I mean, I've talked a lot about like picking up trash when you're out and about, and I feel like that's a really easy way to give back.
Hmm.
I think donating a photo here and there to local organizations that maybe need photos, that's a great way to give back.
Yeah.
Um, just as simple as like posting stuff on Instagram, that can be such a good way to give back. I think that's looked at as like a selfish thing sometimes, but art is not selfish. Art
Right.
is wonderful, and you know,
Hmm.
giving an abundance of your art away, I feel like is a beautiful thing, and it makes
Hmm.
us connect with each other. You know, without sharing our photos on Instagram, I don't think either of us would be here right now. And
Right.
so there's so many ways to give back and to do good. And on little scale and on big scale, they all matter a lot. Everything
Yeah.
really adds up.
I was gonna say, and it adds up. That's right.
Yeah.
I know I am like now turning around on trails, picking up gum and like, it's like, ew,
Yeah,
that's no,
totally.
I don't want another my favorite moose to get that or my bear or whatever. Turn around, get
Right.
it,
And it's just too easy
squirrel.
not to do, you know, just carry a little Ziploc in your
Yeah.
pocket or whatever, and it takes a second and it makes a very real, like immediate difference. And I think we're
Mhm.
like a culture of like quick gratification, and
Yeah.
picking up trash is a really easy way to achieve that.
Yeah. How many thousands of pounds have you carried out?
Oh my God. I do not know that number off the top of my head. I know that it's in the thousands. It started years ago when I was a groundskeeper for Granite Gear.
Mhm.
And that was for like a backpacking mission. And man, it turned into a game after that. And I've
Oh,
just
that's
always
yeah.
now kept track. And it's super fun. I suggest everyone weigh your trash that you pack out, because it's a cool way to see like the difference you've actually made, you know,
Yeah,
because
that is cool. Like,
it
if
adds up quick.
anybody likes to make a game out of something or a
Mhm,
competition,
mhm,
that would be
totally.
fun too.
Totally.
So you could not remember a time you didn't have a camera in your hands.
Nope.
That
Nope.
is
Doesn't
so
exist.
fun. I love that. I love that art is always a part of, like, your human body, you know?
Yes.
So it started with your blue little Fisher Price. Was it the little rectangular one or the bigger chunky one?
So it was like this big,
Yep.
and it's blue and yellow. I
Yes,
have a
yes.
photo of it somewhere. I rebought it off of eBay like several years ago just to have.
That's fun.
And I don't know where it went, but yeah, that was my first camera,
Yeah,
and it was a film camera, and we had a dark room at my house. And
that's
so I learned
cool.
how to do photography in dark room when I was very young.
Yeah.
And you know, I never looked at it as art or creative until probably like 7 years ago.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but yeah, I have always been a photographer, and I've always really put a lot of weight into what that does for me to have a camera in hand and
Yeah.
documenting my world.
Yeah, it's fun. I know I always had a little point and shoot in hand or, a film and then digital, but I can remember as a little girl walking in with my parents and like putting my little film thing in and like dumping it in the little thing for it to come back. That was always
Hmm.
fun. Yeah. Like those are some of my early memories too of doing that. Also buying like the little this really ages me. Buying a 45 record. I can remember that like in kindergarten doing that with my
That's
first
so funny.
dollar. I am old. Oh. So, how does that change your creativity? Like, how does it help you see the world in a different way? A camera, do you notice the change once you put
Mhm.
that camera here?
So I feel like it's so ingrained in me that I kind of perceive my world as if I do have a camera in front of me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I know my husband would like roll his eyes so dramatically at that, but it's really true, and it really influences the way that I perceive things. Is because I'm always thinking about things as a photo and how it might look. For me personally, when I have a camera with me, and I'm looking through that viewfinder, that's really my truest way of seeing the world and expressing my thoughts about the world.
Mhm.
Um, I I'm not so great with like verbal language.
Mhm.
And I was not like much of a talker as a kid, but I was able to capture my world through photos. And that really allowed me to say what was important to me, what mattered to me, things that
Mhm.
I liked. And it's very, very much the same as an adult, although it's a little bit more dialed in.
I was gonna say, that sounds like it translates to now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all really connected. And it's one of those things where I say like I never didn't not have a camera in hand, but I mean that it couldn't be more literal. Um, where I always was the person with a camera, like didn't matter what I was doing, didn't matter where I was. Like if you were to come to my small little town tomorrow and see me at our little grocery store, like there would be a camera in my bag. Um,
Oh, I
it
love
really
that.
like I only share wildlife photos and landscape and nature, but I take photos of my whole world and like
Mhm.
day-to-day life and everything. I don't know how to interpret life without my camera.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, it is interesting how every person does have something that helps them share their point of view, but not everybody gets to access that. So
Mhm.
the fact that you could find that thing and then now use it creatively, to help you express that and now express it for, stories, you're a beautiful storyteller for the
Thank you.
wild. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. And the older I get, the more I realize that like a lot of people either never get to learn what that thing is about themselves, or
Mhm.
it's something that is not as strong of a calling when they do find it.
Yeah,
Um, and so I really got very lucky, and I'm so grateful for that to have kind of like pinpointed what my thing is from the time
yeah.
I was very young.
Yeah, I've said before, like it took me a while to find a camera. I always wanted one, always wanted that DSLR and would not spend the money on myself, and then I put it in my hands and all those years of um, hiking, exploring national parks, mountains, anything
Mhm.
added up to, oh, I had a job as a magazine managing editor of a magazine, and if we didn't have a story, I was always going out to getting stories and like taking my camera, and that made me like brave, like,
Yeah.
oh, like you said, it's like, oh, I'm a different person when I put that camera in my hands and over my eye. Like there's a bravery that bubbles up in me that I didn't see before, and a point of view
Isn't
that
that
I didn't.
interesting?
Yeah,
I find that that's true for a lot of people. It's like it almost pulls out parts of your personality that you didn't know you had, but
right.
suddenly you have them and they're like big parts of your personality and
Right,
like really
right.
important. So
Yeah,
that's really cool that you noticed that, because I like that is a thing. That's totally a thing people experience, and it's
yeah,
really cool to see people experience it. I don't know if you've seen people experience that yet, but it's awesome.
yeah. It is so cool. Like it's like you finally find that spark, that passion, and then it's all those steps before leading to that. And like, yeah, you can't stop me now. I can't imagine my life without my camera. And I'm like, where have you been all my life? But it really was, I wasn't ready for it yet, maybe. So,
Yep.
and the point and shoots were fine till that point, I guess.
No, totally. I started my professional work with a very outdated D810.
Mhm.
And that was after having a D90 forever, which I still sell images from. So
Nice.
just to everybody watching, like, don't let gear hold you back. It doesn't matter at all. The
Right. That's so
photographer
true.
is what matters.
That is so true.
Yes.
Just reading over your blog over the last couple weeks, I just felt, I told you, just so cozy, and like I just loved your descriptions of everything and your passion, and like I would even love looking through all the species list and your projects. And I just, I was telling you before we started, I'm a Midwest girl and everything's covered in houses or farms, or we just don't have a lot of, there are, I don't want to say that. We do have our state parks, not national parks, state parks, and state forests and things. And I grew up in the Shawnee National Forest and probably
Okay.
didn't appreciate that as much as I should. But like I said before, it's stuff that's in you, that you didn't realize was so important. But
Totally.
I love the simplicity. And so you are in the San Juan Mountains in Colorado.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your life there.
So life here is interesting. Um, We are a very rural community here. I'm kind of where the Weminuche Wilderness meets the South San Juan Wilderness. South San Juan Wilderness is one of the least explored in the country,
Mhm.
and the Weminuche is one of the biggest and most wild in the country.
Mm.
So it's a really important area. I had read a piece of advice when I was given the opportunity to be a full-time photographer, and that was to make sure that wherever you live, and I don't mean that like by region, I mean that by your house,
Mm.
wherever you live should be a playground for photography so that you have no excuse to ever miss being a photographer. And so when me and my husband were looking at where to put our roots, we knew we already were living in Colorado and we knew that we wanted to live somewhere. So I had grown up like half my life in Durango,
Mhm.
which is down in the San Juans. And so we started looking in the San Juans to make this dream a reality, and we found an area much, much, much more rural than Durango. And that is where we bought a tiny house on a lot of land. We're straddling the Colorado Plateau, and so half of our property is like high desert,
Mhm.
like painted desert, and then the other half is ponderosa forest with views of 13,000-foot mountains. And I say that all, and it sounds like really extravagant, but this is like the most like basic, simple life. Like we're two like ex-dirt baggers and we can afford this lifestyle. Um, and so it was like one of those things where to make this life happen, we really both had to believe in each other and trust each
Mhm.
other.
Oh, I
Because
love
this is
that.
like an all or nothing kind of life, you know, like we don't have snow maintenance, and this is the snowiest part of Colorado. Like
My
we
goodness.
have a like nearly mile long road that's our driveway that has switchbacks on it, and we don't have running water. And so it's like this commitment to the dream and to the overall goal of what life can be.
Mhm.
Um, and so our life here is very wild. It's very
Mhm.
enmeshed with nature, and that is by design.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
And
beautiful and it's really hard. And I don't think that we could have it any other way
yeah.
because there's just always something to do. And for a couple of people that get bored all the time, we don't get bored here.
I was gonna say you have a lot to do just to keep up when you say snow and a mile long, it's like, whoa. I'm so spoiled with my plow that goes by.
Oh my gosh, we can't even imagine. It was hard getting used to living here. Not that I ever lived in like a great big city anyways, but I mean,
Mhm.
you're really on your own out here. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's something that people don't really understand anymore,
Yeah.
living in society.
Yeah.
But we're kind of on the fringes of society out here, and it's different. We've lived this way for about 10 years, and it's beautiful and spectacular and really hard.
Yes. We're looking at a picture right now of mountain goats. Look how gorgeous. And I have to imagine that this is the reward. You step out your door and you see your mule deer, you
Mhm.
see all your creatures, and then you can explore and do your expeditions. Like you said, that advice that you just mentioned is really convicting for me.
Yeah, it would be so I'm not someone that loves to travel. I
Yeah.
That's a lie. Like I love to travel, but I don't love to travel for my work.
Yeah.
It would be unsustainable to me because I'm really a homebody.
Yeah.
And so I mean living in like I always ask people who say like, "Oh, I want what you have." Like, where do you want to vacation all the time? Like, where's that one place to you? Like move
Mhm.
there. For sure move there. And
Mhm.
it might be really challenging, but like you absolutely won't regret it if it's a place that you truly
That
love.
you love. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have to truly love it because it comes at a cost.
That's
But
right.
oh my
That's
gosh,
right.
I mean, that photo was taken 40 miles as the crow flies from my front door. And that it's hard because like as the crow flies means that you're gaining 30,000 feet of elevation
Right.
there's no roads.
Right.
But I mean, to know that you share space with these animals that are not habituated, that like you might be
Right.
the person they're seeing when they're babies, like it's so cool. And it really it really makes me just like humbled that this is my life, because it's hard to believe. Like, even after all these years, I really have a hard time comprehending it all when I sit back and I'm like, whoa,
I can't
like,
believe I'm doing this. Yeah.
yeah, totally,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. This is if people listening on the podcast is a picture of 2 mountain goats. I would say a mom and a probably her baby
Yep,
or maybe yearling, right? Um,
yep.
and beautiful dark mountain background. So it's so moody and dramatic. It's beautiful. And I really, the thing that makes me curious is like, I just would love to hear about, and we could go on forever about this, but just like the things you see with these animals that no one else sees, because they aren't habituated, because they haven't seen people. Like, do you have an example of something that would just blew your mind that you witnessed?
That is That's a loaded question. I see a lot of things that I think would
Yeah,
surprise people, that I
yeah,
think, I mean, I have my mind blown kind of all the time.
I'm sure.
Um,
I'm
I
sure.
think something consistently that I see dealing with animals like this in the places that I'm going, is a real gentleness.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
there are very few animals I've encountered that are not like very docile and gentle. And when you get moments to like observe them at like a great distance and they don't know that you're there,
yeah,
they're so sweet with one another. And
that's beautiful.
it's really hard not to say, like, to give them like human qualities
Right,
when you are like looking at them and see human qualities where they're
right.
being so sweet with one another.
Yeah.
Also, I will say, when you're dealing with animals that are not habituated to people, you also get like a level of curiosity from those animals that you may not, like, you might get close encounters with habituated animals because they're looking for something.
Mhm,
But I
mhm.
have a lot of like very oddly close encounters with animals because they're like, who is that? And
Yeah,
like,
what is
what is
that?
this?
Right.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah. And so that, like, the curiosity and the gentleness are like the two things I would like to say.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
So you took a sabbatical to the Sonoran Desert in Arizona, and
Mhm.
did you know at that point it was sabbatical, or that's kind of what it's, when you look back, that's kind of what it's become? Maybe a time of learning and transition.
So it was interesting. I had had a very peculiar um happenstance with somebody very, 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 very high up in the world of professional wildlife photography. And I learned some things that I wish I wouldn't have learned about the industry. And I was having like kind of a come to Jesus moment about my career.
Mm.
About like, if I don't behave a certain way, I'm not going to get what I want, and I'm not going to behave those ways. And so I don't know what's happening here. And I really just
Wow.
like hit like a weird place mentally. And it kind of coincided with my husband also being like, I don't know what's happening. And so a
Mhm,
place that we had really loved is the Tucson area,
mhm.
which is about 10 hours away from where we currently live. And so we were like, should we just move there? Should we just see what happens? Like, living in a city, like having running water, just like giving ourselves this second chance at life to see what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so we kind of shuttered up our property and we moved down to southern Arizona, outside of Tucson, and we rented a house. We signed a very, very expensive lease to live down there. And we were immediately just like, oh, like, we should live here. Like, this is right. Um,
Oh,
and my husband is a videographer, and he
okay.
immediately started getting work. I immediately had projects going on down there that were super important.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like, after about 9 months, we like got to this point with it where it was so expensive to live in a city. We didn't sell our property in Colorado, obviously. And so we were like, oh, wow, like, we're both creatives and we're paying for two houses. And it's like, this like
Yeah,
is not sustainable.
yeah.
Um, and so we had to make a choice. Do we sell our house in the mountains and move down? or do we say like peace out to the desert? Which was really hard
I'm
because
sure.
I mean, but like both places hold equal weight to me for like love and passion. Um, and so we didn't know what it was at first when we first moved down. We didn't know what that was going to be. But
Mhm.
now we know, having not been able to sustain living down there as much as we wanted, that that is a place that we won't go the rest of our lives without having a home there.
Yeah.
Um, and so much of my work is still down there,
Yeah.
which is like kind of, I guess, if you can't have it all, like that's about as good as it's gonna get, is like
I
having a weekend.
understand. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Like sometimes there are places that feel like home, a second
Yes.
home. They just do, and you're drawn and you can't help it. And
Hmm.
then other places I'm like, I like it here. It's pretty, but it's not, it doesn't have that same feeling, but that you're drawn there. Just there's something drawing you there. And your work is so beautiful. The Sonoran project on your website is
Thank you.
that work is so beautiful. I encourage everyone to go look at it under projects on our website because just that grid, I could just stare at that grid. And I have not been to Arizona since I was a little girl. So I'm like, I need to get to Arizona. I haven't been there. It's just very far from me. It's very
Oh,
far.
totally.
So yeah,
Totally. That's like part of the beauty of Arizona is in so many ways that it's kind of far from everything.
true.
Um, and what I learned living, like we had gone to Arizona a lot. It's like pretty close to us, like all things considered. It's not
Right.
much further than Denver.
Right.
Um, and so what living there though is just like, this is like so different than we even knew, and we knew it pretty well. But oh my gosh, it's like my heart just like beats for Southern Arizona, and
Mm.
it's really, really complicated feelings. But
Oh.
I have like trips booked all through the year of going back quarterly, and we were super lucky to spend a month there just the other month for a
Mhm.
client.
Mhm.
And
Oh, that's wonderful. So that's a good
yeah,
idea that you could do. Sometimes we've done that too. Like if my husband has work, we'll combine it with a favorite place
yep,
and be able to
yep.
do both, do photography and, and combine it. This makes it a little easier. But this is a Gila monster
Isn't
that
that cool?
this is Arizona.
Yep. Yep. No, it was awesome. So my trip in Arizona was like my big expedition things that I did
Yes,
was
yes.
going to all the Madrian Sky Islands to capture biodiversity. And I mean, I had my mind blown about everything that I got to see. This was like 9 months of backpacking, and
Yes.
I mean, the species I got to see, seeing it, I saw many Gila monsters, which was
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
because everyone was like, you're not going to be able to find them. And I found so many of them.
That is
And
of
that was
course
like
you
a
did.
childhood bucket list. Like
Oh, I love it.
I remember seeing them as a kid in my wildlife fact files and on Jeff Corwin. And
Yes, yes.
like, this is like the animal for me. I need to see it. And let me just say, seeing them in real life, in the wild, so crazy. Like they're so beautiful and so interesting. And if anyone has the opportunity to go look at Gila monsters, um, even if you don't like this kind of animal, it's so cool.
I mean,
Um,
in the wild, it's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, and they're big.
Yeah,
They're like
yeah,
that big.
yeah.
Um, Absolutely awesome that they live in this country. Like they're just the coolest
I
animal.
know. So I really had not researched anything about the Sky Islands and all the sky. I didn't know anything about it at all until I started reading your stuff. And I'm like, I live have, I've grown up in America. I don't know any
Yeah,
of this stuff. But it's like you just get immersed in your own region. And so
yeah.
I'm like, I had no idea the biodiversity that was in that area. And so now I'm like, I have to go explore there. It's
Totally,
so
totally. And I
cool.
mean, it's just incredible where each mountain range is so incredibly different than the
Yeah.
next, and not like anything else you would find anywhere in the country.
That's what it seemed like. I'm like, people don't know this. People don't
No,
know
they
this.
don't.
It's in America.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. And so if anyone has the opportunity, you could see a Cody, like the photo
I
here.
know. I had to look this up. I'm like, I'm learning new things from this, just
Yeah.
doing this podcast with you because I'm like, I don't know about this. I didn't know these were in America.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Yeah, so that actually, it's a cousin of a raccoon.
Yes.
It's a white-nosed coatimundi, and they are all over southern Arizona's mountain ranges, and they are in huge troops of like 40.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and they're just incredibly cool animals. They're much bigger than you might think they are. Um, and yeah, I mean, I I found a place where they lived and I could find them all the time, and they're just absolutely the coolest animals.
They are cool. I'm gonna have to learn more about those because I'm like, what is this?
Yep, yep,
Here
they're
I
really
am,
awesome.
wildlife photographer. You can tell I love moose. I'm focused on moose. Well, everyone knows that if they follow you, one of your great loves is the pika.
Yep.
And I have never seen one in the wild. And I I cannot believe that. And I probably did see them and didn't realize it because we've been to Colorado so many times. But many times when I was over like the Talus Field or looking out over, I would be with little kids. And so of course you're
Totally.
always holding hands and looking at chipmunks and all those things. So I just can't believe I haven't seen one. But that is one of your great loves.
Yep. Yep.
I
I
love
absolutely love them. They
it.
make me laugh. They always, when I was a kid, I would spend so much time above tree line, and Pika are super curious. And
Yeah.
so it would just be me sitting there and Pika coming up, and that, like my love for photography, like that love for Pikas, that has always been something in my life.
Yes. Yes.
And so yeah, I can't get enough. They just make me so happy.
They're so, so cute. And I sat last fall and just sat and sat and sat. I'm like, was that one? Was it? It's like, no. And I'm like, I have to find one. So I do kind of know now where to go. And I think I've probably just missed them all these years of going to Colorado. And now I know better where I'm going to go. So it's a goal. I have to see one. Is there something about pikas that people don't know that you could tell it? I'm sure you have tons of facts about them that we might not know.
I have a lot of facts.
I'll show an image too while you're talking because you have such beautiful pika images.
So I think something that maybe surprises people about pika is that they're like extremely aggressive animals.
Oh,
Um, like not with people, not with
right, right, right.
like other animals, but with each other.
Mm-hmm.
They're really, really solitary animals.
Oh,
But
interesting.
they live in huge groups. And so that is a little bit strange because they
Yeah.
don't like each other. And so a lot of times it's really common to see pikas missing an eye or
Oh
missing a
my
big part of their
goodness.
ear. And it's all because they just fight with each other constantly.
Oh, that's
They're,
interesting. I
yeah,
did not
super
know because they're so
territorial,
cute. You'd think they'd be nice to each other.
right? Yeah, they're not.
No, they're not. The missing
No.
eyes, they're not.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh goodness. It kind of sounds like sometimes how I am. Like, I live with a lot of people and sometimes I just want to be alone.
Totally. Totally. No,
Ginger heart wants to be alone.
you can sometimes like see two sitting like parallel or adjacent, and you're just like, ooh,
Oh,
like
like
I
this
hope I
one.
can get these two in a photo
Oh,
because they're like
cute.
about to like get out of there. Somebody's gonna leave.
Oh my goodness. And here is a Pika. This is some of your research too,
Yep.
with the Pika skull with the pink crystal.
So that was exciting. That was so I had found, I think I want to say in an October, right before a huge first snow fell, I found a
Mm,
dead pika.
mm.
And I kind of like to just let nature do its thing. So I squirreled its body away under some talus in case something wanted to eat it or whatever, it still could. But I hoped that nothing would because I came back the following year to get the skull
Wow.
once it was
Wow.
cleaned, and that's that skull. Um, so yeah, that was a cool find. That's like a very unusual find.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just can't even imagine all the information and facts and the things that you've seen and documented that are in your brain, Deirdre. I just think it's so amazing. I love it. I
It
love
takes
it.
up a lot of space. I like don't have room for like a lot of regular stuff. and just like day-to-day facts and knowledge, but
I
I know a
get it.
lot about wildlife and places.
I totally get that. I totally get that. Sometimes I'm so focused on the wildlife stuff and photography that I'm like, oh wait, another world is going on. I've gotta,
Who knew?
yeah, who knew? And why don't these people care about this like I do?
Right.
Oh my goodness. Like when 399 passed away and I got the news that day, my son had a friend over and I was like in tears. I embarrassed my teenager.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like,
It
wait, doesn't the whole world
it's
know?
real. It's
It's
real
real.
life, and it's like so much more hard hitting. I feel like when you're the vessel to hold that energy and that life, like oh man, I have a couple things like that, where it's just like, like you're the person that bore witness to
Mm.
this life
Oh
and
my
what it
goodness.
did and all these things, and there's a weight to that when
Yeah.
that life goes away. There's a very heavy grieving period.
Yeah.
um Unfortunate for your kids and their friends, but I
Oops.
totally get that.
Well, I can imagine the families that you've watched and the generations you've watched and documented, and it has to have weight. And it's beautiful to give that animal that weight, that
Mhm.
they meant something to someone and they meant someone to their ecosystem and that you knew, you witnessed it. And that
Yep.
is really cool. And you told their story. So that's super cool. Do you have like another project that coming up this next year that you're really focusing on? I know that pikas will go on forever, but do you
Yeah.
have things you're focusing on this year?
So I have a couple things. The like most immediate thing happening is I'm working on a story. I don't know that I would call it like a huge project, but it's like
Mhm,
a story, and dialing in a story is like a whole thing.
mhm,
Um, so I'm trying to demonstrate this year um the rush of summer in the alpine and how
mm,
important these very few months in the alpine are to all the species that call it home and migrate through. And so that's like the most pressing kind of project I have going on.
mhm.
And then I'm working on another project called Wild Hearts of Canyonlands.
Oh,
Um, and so that is basically backpacking, pack rafting down the Colorado River and the
oh,
Green River
wow.
to capture the biodiversity of canyonlands, because so many people don't know how many animals live there, kind of like Southern Arizona,
Yeah,
where it's like, because you just like go to like Arches National Park and like the like vantage points in Canyonlands, like you don't
yeah,
know what's in Canyonlands.
yeah.
um and so I'm doing a human powered like big multi-sport project to capture the biodiversity of Canyonlands. I'm really excited about. And then kind of the final emphasized project this year is about where I live, like super specifically about potential development going up on
Mhm,
Wolf Creek
mhm,
Pass,
mhm.
which is the exact location where those two wildernesses meet. And it's the biggest mule deer migration in the whole
Uh,
entire country.
I was gonna ask, yeah.
Yeah, so
There
it's
has
like,
to be
and I
migration.
mean, we have like Canadian lynx there. We have like a bunch of endangered amphibians, I believe.
Mhm.
There's so much that goes on there. I'm actually kicking off like the big part of that work with an eco flight in a couple weeks,
Oh,
because
wow.
it's like I don't know how else to capture it. So I was so excited that they were down to take me on a flight.
Oh,
Uh,
that'll be fun.
oh my God, like unreal.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, so I'm trying to get further protections so that the United States Forest Service doesn't sell off our public land to
Yes,
a billionaire from Texas.
right.
Uh,
Which is
so
creeping up on us every day like this, the news.
totally,
Yes, it's
totally.
very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you would like to learn more about Wolf Creek Pass, you can look at Deirdre's website and you can also donate. Are the stickers still available?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can donate and get a sticker and help that effort and learn more about it and help protect that area. So, I mean, I think we're going to be trying to protect a lot of areas in the next few years. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like kind of like a mic drop moment. Like I don't, without getting into all of it and saying
Sure,
a
sure,
million
sure,
things,
sure.
like
Yeah.
what do you even
But
say?
right, right. But things are always creeping up on our public lands. And, I
Yep.
am in the Tetons a lot. And so you hear, this parcel of land is going to be sold and this is going to be sold to hotels or whatever. And it's like, wait, that is where the moose pass through. That's where a huge mule deer population
Mhm.
goes through. And people aren't even thinking about the birds, the bugs, the amphibians, any of those things. So,
Right.
yeah, it's a constant battle when we're in love with this field, in love with the planet. And so it's, if you want to learn more about Wolf Creek Pass, just look at Deirdre's website and just educate yourself. Because I just really appreciated educating myself on that area a little bit and need to dig deeper and know more about that section of our country. So
Well, thank you.
I love how the projects that are coming up, and I mean, it's like I I have often heard that, like, find a project that's just your own and do
Mhm.
that. And I just have, like, not necessarily known what to do. And I just think I have, I have I have very little wild spaces near me, but I do try to, do my own. And that's what I was going to say to people. Use your local areas,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Use your
so important. It's
Yeah,
so, so important. And as far as like projects and stories go, um, I mean, they don't have to be big.
right.
Like Wolf Creek Pass, it's 20 miles down the road.
Yeah,
Like I'm not going anywhere.
right.
And I think, so one of my big stories that sold to many outlets was not somewhere that anyone would think of. It wasn't in the mountains. It like wasn't this super picturesque, like grand landscape. It was on eastern Colorado's grasslands.
Mm.
And it was of the tarantula migration that
Oh,
happened.
yes, yes.
And I mean, so stories, when you're thinking about projects and stories and this and that, I think people get really kind of bogged down by having like a grand vision of what it can be.
Yeah,
The best stories are the ones that you're actually going to tell. And so do what's doable.
right,
And
right,
and no matter where you live, there's stories.
right,
Um, and it might not be the subject necessarily that you want to tell the most about, but it'll get you practicing photography, it'll get you telling stories. And then when the time comes for you to tell that grand story, you will have told so many that it's just
right.
second nature.
Right. It's like the muscle memory with your camera. It's
Yep.
the writing memory too. Yeah, I have a writing. I was telling you that I used to be an English teacher and I'm a writer as well. So that kind of stuff always interests me, how to put those two together. And when I was reading your work, I'm like, this is how you do it. You tell their story and speak from your heart and use your words.
Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So you also have a thing on your website for in the blog, like the shot and the story.
Oh,
And that's a
sure.
good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea too. So I was going to show your weasel image because you had a fun story about the
Oh,
weasel.
yes, I know the one.
You know this guy or girl.
Yep. Oh, that was such a cool time. That was so I always feel like nature like gives you what you need when you need it if
Oh
you're like
yeah.
tuned in. Um this was when me and my husband had just moved back from Arizona and we were
Mm,
like having a super super weird time mentally and like whatever. We were like, at least we have these beautiful mountains to catch us when we're down.
yeah.
Um, and so we went hiking to one of our favorite places that we like to hike. And we crested this little ridge right by an alpine lake. You can't see it, but behind that weasel is a beautiful alpine lake.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and we had never seen a weasel there before. And this guy hung out with us for a really long time. It was beautiful.
Oh, that is fun. He's standing up, his little paw up. So
Yeah.
cute.
That was a cool
So
day. We saw a lot of weasels that day. That
that's
was a very
fun.
fun
I
day.
mean, he's just posing for you.
Yep. Yep. The
I don't
perfect
have
little
I don't
guy.
have any images of weasels. I don't have any. I just like I keep missing them. I
What
know.
surprises me.
I keep missing them. I don't this is not a weasel, but I have a mink. I have a couple mink in my local area that
Oh,
have eluded me for years, and I literally to the point where they've splashed next to me and I'll turn and they're gone.
oh,
And
that's so
isn't
funny.
that funny? It's like they're playing a game. I don't know.
I'm sure that they are.
And then we have two, are these yellow-bellied marmots or I don't know
They
the
are.
Okay, yeah, I like seeing those in Colorado. My kids used to love finding those and seeing them.
They're so precious.
Yeah, they are fun. And we've seen like one brave one come down and look us over and be curious, and then up on the hill, like the babies and another one will be up there. So cute.
I love them. I really love marmots, and they're starting to be out now, waking up from hibernation,
I
and so it's like,
wondered if they were coming out in the sun and yeah.
yep, they love it. They're
I
looking shaggy.
their nice winter coat.
Yep,
I was just in Colorado in March, and that is a strange month in Colorado.
I don't love it.
You have a blog post on that, but it's like in between. It's
Yeah.
very weird. It's very gray.
Mhm.
So we had been before in March, and I'm like, I think this is why we haven't been coming back in March again, because it's just a strange time.
It's we like we always say it's like just like a living hell when like neither me or my husband skis or snowboards.
Right.
And I mean we can, but we don't like it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and
And it's
so it's just
expensive. It's so
it's super
expensive.
expensive and it's
Hmm.
super dangerous. We would be looking to do backcountry and we don't want to deal with avalanches. There's avalanches
Right.
all the time. And so March is really hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you hear people like living the mountain life and it's like glamorized, like they're forgetting about March because March is really hard. It's like, and with climate change too, like now sometimes in March, one day will be 70 degrees and then
Yes.
the next day will be a blizzard where you get 8 feet of snow.
Yes.
And so it's like, that's the month where like you are cooped up inside. So
Yeah.
don't ever come to Colorado during
It's
March.
like
It's
the
not fun.
waiting, the waiting. I
Yeah.
did get to see elk with their antlers still, so that was kind of fun. But of course, they're in their winter coats, and it's
Uh-huh.
pretty bad. They looked
Right.
pretty rough. But it was
Yep.
nice to see a group of about 23, so that was really cool. I'm like, well, that was good for March, but I don't know that I've found anything. It's
It's
still
hard.
beautiful. It's still beautiful. You got to look for that beauty and just appreciate it. So I was very thankful that we were there. But
Yep.
I was like, yeah, this is Colorado in March. This is why we said we weren't going in March anymore.
It's a weird month. So where I live, we have I think it's like the oldest and longest running narrow gauge train in
Oh,
for
fun.
sure the country.
Yeah.
It goes from Durango to Silverton. But in the winter they don't go to Silverton because they can't maintain it.
Yeah.
But it goes kind of far into its route. And so in March, that's when I'm usually like, let's like go on the train for a
That's a
day
good idea.
and like just see things,
Yeah,
pretend
have something to
tourists. Like,
look forward to.
yeah, yeah,
All the gray days. And I assume you're
totally.
planning and um do you have like I just admire so much the way that you dedicated your life to go after this passion and your dream. And like you said, it can be glamorized, but it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. Do you have advice for people that want to do that? Like, I know you're an inspiration to many people and a lot of women. So do you have advice for like even like emotionally, financially, mentally, the practical side? What's
Yeah.
a couple pieces of advice?
So first advice is that there's no such thing as practical when you want to chase dreams. Like
Mm,
everyone's going to tell you everything is not practical. And
yeah,
nothing is if you just want to live like a normal life. So
yeah.
you have to kind of like throw that out the window. And then the other thing that I would say, and this is where people put up a lot of resistance, is the money thing.
Hmm.
Be poor. Like
Yep,
be poor, be super poor, be
yep,
willing to be super poor. There were
yep.
multiple years of my life where all we ate for every meal was just plain oats.
Yeah,
And like there have been years where like frozen peas are like our fancy thing because we are like just trying to live our dreams here.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like I said, like I started this shooting on a D90, then somehow got a used D810. I only got a modern system a year ago.
Hmm.
But I am still selling photos from the D90 and D810.
Hmm.
And here's a big secret for chasing your dreams. Like if your dreams are like being published as a photographer or this or that, publishers don't care at all what you shot your photos with.
Hmm.
Like they could care less. They don't ask. And so, it's really easy to get tangled up in what's like realistic. And it's really easy to say like, oh, like I don't have the money, or like I can't lose this money. And I do understand that if you have kids and stuff, like there's like some other thought that obviously needs
Right,
to go
right,
into things. But life comes down to priorities.
right.
And we only have one life. And
That's
so
right.
what are you going to prioritize? So my advice, I guess, is don't let like preconceived notions of what is stop you, and don't let money stop you, because it's an abundant world, right? And like you have a place in whatever you're going after. And if you work really hard and if you're consistent, that money is going to come.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
met very few people where that's not the case.
Hmm.
It's probably not going to be as much as you hope that it is, but like you will sustain.
Yes.
Like, and I think, you know, it's all like a long-term thing. Make little mini goals like on the way to your bigger goals. Anything's possible. If I am living the life I'm living, I have no college education. I have like nothing. I had no other options. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
this was my option, was to go after my passions. If I'm doing this, anybody can do what their dreams are, I
Yeah.
promise.
That is so, I hear abundance, and there's a couple ways of that. Abundance in that there's room for everybody and their purpose, and abundance in like the planet. There's so
Yep.
many stories to be told. And maybe you're made for that story where you are. You are made for the stories you're telling and in your place. And there's a purpose why you're there and why you're telling those stories. And so we're all in different spots in different
Yep.
parts of in parts of the country, parts of the world, and in our lives. And so perspectives are different and always have a purpose and a reason why your creativity, why your story and your point of view can come out. So that's, and I think you said earlier, well, you just said it quickly, was work hard and like be consistent.
Yes. Yes.
I have found that
Very
too.
key.
Yeah, I
You
found
know,
that too.
it's really I had touched on it before we started today, that like the biggest thing you can do for yourself in trying to achieve any dream that you have is to be consistent and never stop. And that doesn't mean you can't take some breaks here and there. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can't have some like real low moments on the
Yeah.
journey. Like that is so normal, that will happen. But the difference between the people that rise to the top is that they like stay it out. Like they aren't going to give up. They like, you know, for every like 5 steps up, you're going to fall 3. But like if you keep going, everyone else will eventually drop away. And you become the competition. And it's so important to be consistent and just not give up, because that's what separates the people who live their dreams versus the ones who unfortunately don't.
Yeah. And we've talked about that. We talked about it on the last podcast. Like it's good to feel the grit through
Yes.
those valleys and peaks, to know that we're building grit, especially when you're going after that passion, you got to watch the growth, watch your growth,
Mhm.
look back, look behind you and see how far you've come. And like you said, people are going to tell you it's not practical. People are going to
Mhm.
tell you that. And it's so true. People are going to say, you shouldn't do that. Why are you doing
Mhm.
that? They don't like, I feel like that a lot of times, like people don't understand where this passion has come from or why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Totally. And you know, I think after you do it for so long, you get to a point where like they're no longer like haters, but it's just like
Right.
I feel bad for you that you haven't found this thing in your life that makes you go crazy.
That's
Like,
true. That's true.
yeah,
It
like
is true.
everyone needs something to be so passionate about. And usually the people who are like claiming that's unrealistic are just people who haven't found that passion yet at
That's
this
true.
time in their life. And that's really sad,
It is
because
sad.
it makes being alive so much more beautiful.
It does. It really does. So if you have questions for Deirdre, you can put them in the chat. I can see them better in the Q&A box if you put them there. So go ahead and put those there, and then we'll get to those. I know that Dan Cole said that Deirdre is the best teacher I've ever had. Yeah, isn't that nice? And Jenny Cannon says, this is why I love this podcast. I'm learning so much about the amazing variety of wildlife in Arizona. Also, Deirdre, I love listening to and learning from you. So that's nice. Yeah, that's really cool.
Thank
Um,
you.
So what's a story you want to tell, but but you haven't yet, and you're trying, like, it seems like it's out of reach, but you're gonna get it.
So this is like a little bit maybe not what this person was going for when they asked, but I have not, at least to me, I have not found a way to tell the story of how it feels to feel what I feel when I'm in the alpine or when I'm like having a remarkable time in the desert. I don't know yet how to tell the story of when I break down sobbing somewhere beautiful, like why that is and
Yeah,
what's going
yeah,
on there. And
yeah,
I would love to be able to like succinctly put that into a photo story or even in words.
yeah,
Um, I don't know how to fully convey those feelings other than feeling them.
yeah, yeah, that's so true. And we do talk a lot about that side of photography and exploration, like the awe and wonder of it
Mhm.
that keeps us going. And so maybe that's why I think creativity and the creative process and the emotions and the awe and wonder are more at the forefront of my mind instead of the technical,
Yeah. No,
because
totally.
because
It
there's
makes such a difference to feel those feelings,
yeah,
like, they're big feelings, and I feel like we only, like, as a culture, talk about big feelings if it's, like, really negative or, like, some kind
right,
of,
true,
like, capitalist joy of, like, "I got this new thing." Um
true, yes,
But, like, oh my gosh, I always try to experience things like a kid would, and it's, like, constant wonder, constant, like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this ha is happening," like, I'm amazed and dazzled, and I can't
I
believe
love
that
it.
we live here. And by
I
here,
told
I do mean planet Earth. It's a crazy place.
it is. I remember listening to something you said that you always want to have a child's view of it. And I
Yeah.
just had told my husband that the other night. I feel like sometimes I'm only 9 still.
Yeah, it's the best. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like you meet people like that and you know it because they seem so much younger than they are, but, like, have the wisdom of an older person.
Well,
So it's
I'll take that for me.
it's the best of both worlds, really.
Okay. Someone asked, what do you consider a climate change bellwether species?
Okay, so that is like, the obvious answer when somebody asks me that is a pika.
That's what I
Um,
thought. Yeah.
and it's because of where they live, that they really can't go up. And so they can be really devastated as a population by climate change warming up and they have nowhere to go. But that's not my answer.
Okay.
So my answer for this is going to be animals that change to white during winter. So we have snowshoe hares, we have ptarmigans, we have weasels. Um, these animals are so evolved to perfectly match the rhythm of nature so that they have this all-encompassing camo. When the snow falls, they totally transform their bodies to what they look like so that predators can't see them and so that their prey can't see them so that they can hunt. And more you're seeing just like stark white animals in the middle of a bone dry alpine. And so I feel like that's a really it's jarring and unsettling to see. And so that's like my main answer to that question. But then the other thing that you're seeing at pika colonies is wood rats totally taking over pika colonies because they're moving up in elevation because they can,
Yes.
because it's
Yes.
not as harsh.
Mhm.
Um, and so you between kind of the color changing animals and species that like aren't ordinarily found at 13,000 feet being at 13,000
Yeah.
feet, um, it kind of it's very jarring when you're like
Right.
dealing with it because it's like very clearly like these things shouldn't be happening.
Yes. This very clearly is a problem. Yeah.
Yes.
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 How often are you on trips for photography, and is this balanced with day-to-day life?
Uh, so that kind of depends on the projects I'm working on. Like with my Sky Island project, that was
Mhm.
about 9 months.
Yes.
And I would say that I was backpacking every 3 weeks out of every month. But that would be like 9 days on and then 1 day off. And like, so
Mhm.
it never, so it depends, right?
Mhm.
There's no balance. And that's kind of why I have set up my life how I have, because it doesn't need to be balanced. Um, I can be gone out in the field for I like my field work season's coming up next week, and I mean I won't be home a lot until October. And I live a very cheap life, and that's
Yeah.
so that I can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like we have a dog who loves to go boarding at his doggy daycare because he's so used to it because he grew
Yes.
up doing it and like knows the
Yes.
people there. Um, so no, there's no balance. And the trips are like constant and constantly in flux. Like if I want to just go tomorrow, I can go tomorrow and it's not a problem.
Right. Right.
Um, but that obviously comes at a cost. Like we have needed to like restain our house for like 5 years, and like I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Right.
And just stuff like that. So like no, there's no balance.
But does it help you keep your balance, your
Yes.
emotional and mental balance?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm at the point right now, like in the year, where I'm going insane. And it's like really noticeable because I was supposed to have like multiple trips this winter, and then I got hit with COVID super hard and it was devastating. And then I I had this trip rescheduled and it was like a big sponsored trip, and then this huge storm came and avalanches started and I had to leave like immediately, and like
Wow.
a lot of things fell through this year.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so like mentally I'm going insane, but my first trip is next week. And so it's
Yeah.
like, okay, then I can breathe. And like
Yeah.
then I can like start to just breathe because the work doesn't feel like work. It feels like real life where like I don't know what this is to just be at home.
Yeah.
And I love being at home. But when there's like not anything to do, I have a big problem with that.
Someone says, oh, this is Dan. He says, this is a sad question to ask, but which animals or plants do you think will be most resilient to climate change?
Most resilient.
And he says, there certainly could be the answer. There's no such thing.
Right. So I will say pika are oddly resilient. You don't hear that. Like, no, I don't know why. There's like one narrative about pika, but if you actually talk to the people studying them, they're very resilient. Um, and they are moving up or like shifting down, but to bodies of water where it's a
Mm.
little bit cooler, and they can live in like root systems that are cooler.
Mhm. I heard you
Um,
say that you found some behind waterfalls or near waterfalls
mhm.
before. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's pretty
very
common.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
but to like very pointedly answer Dan's question, and I think that he will like this answer, I do think that it's going to be species like red fox,
Mm,
um, because like they live literally everywhere
yeah,
and seem to do really well. And the same could be said for coyotes.
yeah.
Super adaptable, super intelligent, very clever, um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and just like they can survive on very little and do okay.
Yeah,
Um, and so to me, those are foxes and coyotes. Those are like kind of the two species that no matter what, they're probably going to do pretty good.
yeah, yeah. Jenny Cannon asks, you talked about not giving up on your dreams when things get hard. How do you find that grit to keep creating? Is there anyone or something who has given you inspiration? And Dan also says, good answer.
Um, so kind of two answers to that. The first answer is my husband. He has worked at like for years, like multiple full-time jobs so that I could do what I do making no money with
Mhm.
like the belief that someday I would.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so my husband has given me like this unbelievable gift, and I'm so glad that in recent years I've been able to prove him right.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
because like I mean what he's done for me is like unreal. Um, and then, I mean, the other thing really when it comes to determination and grit is something I kind of touched on earlier, is that like I don't know what else I would do. Like this, I would be doing everything I'm doing with wildlife and mountains if I couldn't do photography.
Yeah.
And if I couldn't do mountain stuff, I would still be doing photography stuff with animals.
Right.
And
Right.
so I don't there isn't another answer for me. And that's like not true of everyone, obviously. And like um yeah, for me, it's just like my whole life has been really hard and things have been really hard. I've never done anything feeling like confident and like I got this and like I know, like I've done every single thing in my life terrified.
Mm,
And so I feel like that builds that grit and like, okay, like I guess I'm gonna do this thing. I'm like absolutely terrified and like going to go puke now, but like, what else am I gonna do? And so I feel like there's a lot of merit into doing it scared. It's the only way that you can be brave.
yeah.
Um, and it's like muscle memory as well. Like the more that you can feel those feelings of like, oh shit, like I'm gonna puke, like
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff, the more it's just like, okay, like I'm gonna puke, but like then I'm gonna be okay.
Yep.
And if it doesn't go okay, like next time it will go okay.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, it's just I have never really had anyone believe in me except for my husband. And it's so
Yeah.
it's like really amazing what one person's belief can do.
Yes.
And you see that on social media where people are like, nobody's seeing my stuff, like nobody like this and that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, like one person is seeing your stuff, like
Right.
allow that to matter. Allow
Right.
yourself to be touched by that because it
Yes.
does matter. So
Mhm.
yeah, that very long-winded answer, but there you go.
Well, I think you matter to the wildlife community too, and I love that partnered life you live. And I
Yeah.
feel like my husband and I are like that too. He has said to me, "It's your turn now." Like I gave up a career and gave up things, and I've always had to like kind of piece together part time so that we could raise the kids. And and I love that partnered life and having someone that believes in you like that. Like I think my husband believes in me more than I believe in myself.
And isn't that so powerful?
Yeah.
Like I gave my husband about a year ago, I gave him that opportunity. We're like, now it's your turn.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like this is all you. I will do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
And that's when he started pursuing the full-time videography, which has gone so much easier for him than this went for me. But I mean, it's like when you allow people to grow their wings and fly, like it's
Yes.
amazing what can happen.
Yeah, and that's true for friends, for
Yeah.
parents, for brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, whoever you have in your life that you want to help support and help their wings grow. And
Yeah.
like maybe we should all thank the people that are doing that in our lives. I think Dee
Mhm.
Webb a few weeks ago, she said just send someone a message that you're inspired by them or you're thankful for them. And I thought that was so sweet. That was such a good idea.
It makes a big difference,
Yeah.
like being honest and vulnerable in that way. And
Yes.
I feel like it's one of those things where like it as much as it's like nice for the other person, like that is really nice for you too, to be putting like goodness out there and to be
Absolutely.
being positive. Like you
Absolutely.
are kind of the culmination of these things that you put into the world. And so if you can be like a positive force, it's really powerful and it impacts your life in ways that you might not think.
Yes, I think so too. And Lori asks, what is your favorite sky island?
Oh, so my favorite is actually like where I plan to like eventually buy my house down there, and that is the Tortolita Mountains.
Well, that's a
Um,
pretty name.
yeah, isn't that pretty? So that is like the lowest, oldest range in those Sky Islands. It's kind of like the classic what you would think of. It's like low rolling mountains and jagged canyons with all the saguaro cactuses.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
and so it's like maybe not like as magnificent for like how people would think magnificent mountains would look,
Yeah,
but it's just like the biodiversity there and the wildness and the ruggedness. It's
I
just
can
like
see how that would
so
light your fire. If there's like
yeah. Yeah, and I spent like a solid month backpacking through them. And there's only like a couple trails in them, so most of it was off trail, and it like absolutely blew my mind. I mean, you see like a desert landscape and you don't think that there's going to be so much life there, but I saw far and away the most species there out of any other Sky Island. It was
oh,
stunning.
that is cool. Yeah, I have to go. I have to
Yeah.
learn more. I'm just glad I'm learning. It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do the speed round.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What's something in your camera bag that you cannot do without?
Mm, I keep feathers. Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I every once in a while I'll find like a really cool feather
Hmm.
and I just stick it in my bag. I wear one of those cotton carriers and they have like a little pocket for memory cards and I put feathers in there.
That's
Because
fun.
like I always feel like there's never like a bad time to do photography. And so even if like lighting's really bad, I can pluck out a feather and put it somewhere pretty and start taking photos of like still life with this feather.
I love it. I love it. And I've heard you say that before. There's never a bad time, and you
Mhm,
shouldn't be like obsessed with just the one time. Like there's never a bad
mhm.
time. It's all epic.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
Okay, what's something you have in your camera bag that you never use?
Filters.
Everyone says that.
I hate them. I have so many. It's so nice, but I like don't use them ever.
It is so funny how many people have said that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
What's your favorite snack while editing or hiking?
I um I absolutely love beef jerky. I think Old Trapper hot and spicy can't be beat.
Okay,
Uh
everyone, listen to that.
so so good. If you like jerky, it's that perfect mix of like you can like eat it and not break your teeth, but
Yes,
it's
yes.
like also not like wet and soft. So,
It's the perfect one. The perfect one.
yes.
Do you have a favorite photographer, author, artist?
Yeah, so I am super and always have been super inspired and motivated by Art Wolf,
Yes.
which I don't feel like is super shocking to anyone in the wildlife scene. But oh my gosh, he is such a wealth of information. I've never had a mentor in photography, but I have like listened and read and consumed everything he's ever done. And so to me, Art Wolf is really like a mentor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that dude's career is so amazing and
I was
beautiful.
gonna say, so it's prolific, like, and he
Yeah,
doesn't just stick to one thing. It's like
yep,
so many things. Yes.
yep. And so that, yeah, he has inspired my whole career.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Have you ever been able to like write him that or tell him that?
So when you email Art Wolf, you get his assistant, and I have told her to pass notes along.
That's funny. So, is there a wildlife experience that stands out that really touched your soul or filled you?
Boy.
I know you have
So
many.
I have many, but there's this one that like immediately comes to mind where I I kicked off my project Life with Mountain Goats, and this was to track mountain goats through the San Juan Mountains, and they were reintroduced to the San Juan Mountains. And so if you come to Colorado, this is not the place that you come to see mountain goats. You aren't going to see them. But my big lofty goal was to track like the one herd of mountain goats through the San Juan Mountains. Um, and I was on an expedition, a very, very long expedition, and was coming up short just across the board. And this terrain was so hard. I don't know if you know about like mountaineering classes, but I was in a lot of class 3 plus, where it was like, this is like very getting very technical. And I mean, I had been out for so long with no luck and just feeling so um like I didn't know what I was doing anymore. And my husband was with on this day, and we were sitting up at like 13,000 feet, and I was just feeling like demoralized.
Ugh.
And I looked over at a different ridge at a certain point, and a whole herd of mountain goats was coming over the ridge.
Oh my
Um, and
goodness.
it was like the most like awe-inspiring moment, and I just started sobbing. Like it wasn't even like a moment of like gotta get this shot. It was just like a moment of like, oh my God, like I like did it, and I can't believe this is happening.
And
And
they're
this
right
couldn't
there.
like, oh my God. And they hung out for like 5 hours. It was
Oh
probably
my
like
goodness.
it was like definitely most of the herd. It was like 15. I mean, it was just like the most magical thing ever. And I cried the whole entire time and couldn't stop. And like, I did get so many cool shots too, but I mean,
I
that
was
was
gonna say,
like,
but I'm sure you were taking pictures too
yes.
through the tears.
But like, it was so, at that point, it was so, so secondary to like that reassurance of like, I have done this. Like,
Mhm,
this, like,
mhm.
will, because this happened, this now means something because I can share it with other people and
Yeah.
because I can, like, now I can start tracking them.
Yes,
But
yes,
it
yes.
was like, that's a moment that I think of often, and that's a moment that I think of a lot anytime that I'm feeling discouraged or down.
Mhm.
Because it was just it couldn't be more perfect, and it couldn't be more perfect of like a display of don't give up, because like so many times the second that you give up, 2 seconds later your dream would have happened. And so never, 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 never give up, stick it out, cry, sob, be stressed, go crazy, but like don't quit.
That's right. I was going to say it has to validate you, fuel you for the
Mhm.
future. And like you said, I'm doing this. It's like, yeah, you're doing this, but it also has to like in the big picture, I'm doing this. This is mattering. This is happening. And those kinds of moments kind of fuel you to keep going, you
Yeah.
know?
They totally do. And I mean that I don't even remember when that happened, how many years ago that was,
Yeah.
but stuff like that, I mean it stays with you for like a lifetime
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing what can happen when you just stick things out and
Yeah.
really like stick to your guns about things. And that
Yeah.
was one of those moments for sure.
And it has to be another moment we were talking about, like the awe and wonder of just seeing that, the beauty
Yeah.
of it. I would be crying too.
Lots of time crying out in nature, I'll tell you that.
Well, sometimes I was going to say maybe we hide behind the technical so that we don't have to talk about those emotions. You know,
Right?
it's not just women feeling that. It can't be. The beauty is there and the
Mhm.
magic is there and the hard work makes you cry, you know? So it's
Totally.
like, don't,
Totally.
maybe we shouldn't hide behind that technical. Maybe we should all be talking about like, man, and I think we do. I think most people do, but it's like maybe we are hiding a little bit behind those technical things on some of the, YouTube and all that.
Definitely. Definitely. And I mean, if you don't feel those things when you're out in the field, maybe you're like doing the wrong hobby or
Yeah, then
career.
why are you doing it? Yeah,
Yes.
totally, totally. So where can people find you? Where are the best places and how can they support you?
Sure. So I am across the board, Deirdre Denali photography. Um, that like I'm not really on social media outside of Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
But I have like a really active website. I love to keep my blogs going.
I
Um,
was going to say it is a really beautiful website. It's a really organized but beautiful website. It was really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Um, so there, that's a good
yeah.
place. And then like everything that I do, and this isn't just like a plug to support me, everything that I do has been supported by my patrons. I am on
Yes, yes.
Patreon with the same name, Deirdre Denali Photography. Um, my patrons are the people that were paying for my oatmeal and frozen peas all the years
Oh,
so I could
yes,
afford.
yes.
Um, so that's like definitely the best way to support me if anyone's interested.
And it's very easy.
$5.
Yeah, it's very easy on your
Yeah.
website. You can see different levels and it's yeah, five. It's an easy start.
And it goes a long ways. I like
Yeah.
have gotten super good at stretching a dollar over all this time. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And people can buy prints on your
Yep.
website. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
people can buy
wonderful.
prints. I also, this is like such a secondary thing. I also have a gear website, and that's like linked to from, I think it's on my Instagram. I think it's on my website somewhere.
Yeah.
But I do like affiliate stuff for
Yes.
outdoor gear. So if you're
Yeah.
ever like looking for a new tent or a new whatever, I have a link for that. And
Yes. I
I've got
saw that. And I actually thought I'm going to remember that for Christmas time for my son that lives in Colorado. So I'm like,
perfect.
these are the lists I need. These are because he's always like, I'm not sure what I need, but I'm like, this will give me lots of ideas. Lots of ideas.
Excellent.
Well, it was so good talking to you. It has been so fun. I'm so glad we finally got to meet because
Me
I
too.
told you when we first got on, I'm like, I feel like I know you, but I don't.
No, this was super nice. This
I'm
was super
so
nice.
glad. I'm so glad. And thank you so much for our listeners today who have given questions and comments and been so supportive. And it's just a great community. I have been so thankful to meet so many people on this podcast and so many kind, passionate people are listening. It's just we're building a really sweet community here. And I just thank you so much, everybody. In a week, next week on April 30th, we'll have Carolina Nore here and she'll be talking about her time, her guiding and all her teaching in South Africa. So that will be really fun. And Jackie Matichek will join us May 5th. So you can follow Wildlife Conversations podcast on Instagram, or you can follow me on Instagram, Jen L. Ritchie. And YouTube is Jen Ritchie Photography. And you can follow on Apple and Spotify as well. So thank you, everybody, for your likes and comments and shares. And it means a lot. I know it seems trivial, but it does mean a lot because I know you're listening and it doesn't feel so alone. So, but Deirdre, I resonate with what you said about goals and like grit. Keeping going.
Yep, got to keep going.
I feel like that's one of the lessons I have really learned over the last 5 years is like, you just keep taking those steps, keep going. And I appreciate you sharing your life with us and reiterating that. It's a real example. So thank you so much. Come back anytime, friend.
Awesome. It was wonderful to meet you. And thanks,
Yes.
everyone, for showing up.
Yes, thanks, everybody. Thank you, Deirdre. Thanks.
Yep, have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.